Oh, welcome back. Welcome back. Magadini, how are you? Siyabonga. Thank you for coming onto this podcast. Yeah. I'm doing this in real time. We thank all those that have been tuning in and listening so that we can share pivotal thoughts and as we go through the journey of life. It is of particular importance today that I want to introduce you to Malcom X, straight out of Harlem, minister for the Nation of Islam, and he had me on something last night. He had me on something different. Who taught you to hate yourself? Malcom X, rest in peace, brother. What you should look it up on YouTube or on any of these platforms. Here you find a wonderful message, a wonderful presentation when he asks black society, black African Americans, and he says, who taught you to hate yourself? Now, as much as he was sharp with his words, an orator, intelligent, witty, you've been bamboozled. He was something else, but that's not where he got me. He got me by the question, who taught you? He didn't say why. He said who, because he understood that for people to get into a value system, to people the way they look at themselves, outside of self-introspection and just looking at themselves and their self-identity, there are a lot of factors to be contributed to that. And Malcom knew this very clearly. Very early on in his life, he found that he had also gone through an identity crisis. They used to call him, they used to call him, Chicago Red, because of how he was red boned, he was lighter. And that in itself is an identity. Now imagine people are giving you a nickname because of the way your skin looks, Chicago Red. So at the same time, him having been born out of a Christian preacher's home, disturbed by the Ku Klux Klan, integrated into white schools, and him out of his whole family having been more integrated within white society, lighter than the others, but still not light enough to be considered white. This now brings us to a Malcom X who was on the streets of Harlem and Brooklyn, and we have this young man, and he becomes somewhat of a gangster. He ends up getting a charge, and which was basically a criminal charge, but they charged him because of his relationships with white women that were given in testimony within the court. Now, he comes from all of this, goes to prison, comes back with a shape, because he finds an identity in what the Honorable Elijah seeks. We are looking for an identity. Somebody is looking for an identity. I don't know, sometimes we meet people every day, talk to them, know their name, but still they don't have an identity. As I take this walk, I was running in the morning, I see people and I'm seeing shells of themselves. I see black people dressed like Europeans. These people do not have an identity. I wonder, who taught you to hate yourself? Who sponsored this evil? Who taught you? Now, we are not here to proliferate hate speech. No. We're here to question origins. Even in theology, the origin of evil. We are here to find out, where did this start? How is this fair? Imagine a camel with horses fair. Imagine a lion with the leopard spots. There is a serious shame that comes with failing to know who you are. And that is what we have been victims of. And we continue to be so. every day. It is a shame that there are men who sponsor such things. However, let us take a step back and say to ourselves, maybe this was God-sponsored. We go into the Bible and we quickly understand that the children of Israel were put into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, a Babylonian pagan system. Oh yes, and in Daniel, the apocalyptic discourse there gives us an interpretation that says, he is to have the greatest kingdom on earth ever, a pagan king. None shall be like thee, seated on gold, everything is in gold. The head of gold was pagan. I want us to look at it from that position and say, maybe God is in control, but only at a higher cosmical level. The Bible in itself, literature, canon says everything works together for good. Now, there is a place for a thought that says man tries to understand God, which is the problem. We can't. We should rather, therefore, listen, interpret his sayings, interpret his teachings, and move along. But now, does this not make God a dictator? But then the argument comes of free will. Yes. Now, to those that might not be familiar to all these things we're talking about, the real, the question I asked earlier, the question asked by Malcom X, who taught you to hate yourself? Some of you hate yourself, and you might not know that you hate yourself. You hate yourself in the way you dress. You hate yourself because when you get into a restaurant, you have to tune up. You have to do something to be acceptable. They call it etiquette. Now, I make a staunch difference between being uncouth and being a gentleman. There is an African gentleman and there is a British gentleman. Listen how I speak as I address social concerns about my own people, yet I speak in a language that is not mine. Is it not a constant reminder, even though be it psychological, that says you do not know who you are? To communicate in itself, you have to speak my language. You have to come up to my language, to my standards. Then who is our God? The God of Israel or the God of English? Then who has allowed it? Is it not ourselves? Is it not ourselves who have failed to fight for what is right? The Bible is littered with examples of those that rebelled against what they thought was not just. Sometimes symbols of God, children of kings who became kings themselves, as we see in the early reign of the son of Solomon. We see immediately that the northern kingdoms come and approach him for a taxation issue. He responds harshly. They rebel against him, anoint another king. What have we done? What are our values? Why have we refused to fight for an identity? Our children roam the streets, not better than they were in pre-medieval times, naked. Not now only naked in body, but now naked in soul, spirit. They don't know who they are. They sing songs. They do not understand. They sell themselves sexually on positions they do not understand. They are not therefore a part of our society. They are not therefore a part of our history. But our children have become the tragedy of our existence. The reminder, the pain, the evidence of our ignorance is found firmly in our children's miniskirts, in our children's failure to articulate who they are, where they come from, speak their language, and stand their ground. Oh, what a painful reminder. Nothing done does not have a reaction. Now, there is a reason for concern.